So I used to do a monologue from the play The Glass Menagerie, so I brought that in with me. And I did the monologue, and he's sitting there with his wife, and I played mostly to his wife, and his wife really liked me. So she's going, yeah, he's good, he's good, he's good. And she said, well, I brought my bass along. I said, can you play something on the bass? I said, yeah, I usually accompany somebody. So he had a guitar, he played basic guitar and sang. So I said, why don't you get your guitar and we'll play something. So he said, all right. He got his guitar, and I'm following along on the bass. I forget what he was playing. Let the Midnight Special shine a light on me. I think he played that. Let the Midnight Special, by Creedence Clearwater Revival and 100 other artists. So I followed him along pretty good on it. He said, okay, you got the job. So we rehearsed the show, and it was supposed to go out on tour. We did a couple of backers auditions. It was a real good musical. Had a nice theme of learning and peace and love and all of that garbage. I'm a peace and love guy. So it never went anywhere. But I did get to meet the director, whose name was Fred Cook, and he had an acting school called the Los Angeles Academy of Dramatic Art, and the school really changed my life. I had been doing, I had come out of New York and doing avant-garde theater. I did a show called Little Trips in New York, which was reviewed by Channel 7, oddly enough, ABC TV. And it got a terrible review. But it was a good show. He just didn't understand it. It was a show that had no theater seats, and the audience was expected to follow along and participate in the show. And most of the audience did that, but he didn't like that. He wanted to sit on his butt and watch something. So he gave it a very bad review, and he was fired 2 weeks later. I prefer to think he was fired for giving such an irresponsible review, because he didn't say the name of the show, he didn't say where it was playing, he just said, oh, this is a ridiculous show, and this is going on, and I had no idea, and blah, blah, blah. And they showed some excerpts from it, and it was very irresponsible journalism. If he didn't like it, he could say he didn't like it, that's okay, but he'd say the name of the play, and where it's playing. So anyway, I had come out of that. That was the last thing I did in New York. And so the Los Angeles Academy of Dramatic Art taught me two things. Taught me a new acting technique that I could use for television and film and auditions. And it taught me how to get work, how to go about getting jobs. I was pretty good at it naturally because I was young and I was aggressive in New York. I got us a lot of our jobs as musicians, as a musician, and as musicians. A lot of the band I was playing in, I got our first job, in fact, with my college, playing the dance. But this taught me how to really, I was in LA and I didn't know a soul in show business. And it's all contacts, who you know. And I didn't know anybody. So he taught me a method to basically get known. Because when you get known and well thought of, you get hired. And getting hired is half the job as an actor or voiceover artist. So I started working at the school. I glommed on to that getting hired bit full force, and I set up my own business. I started sending out postcards and letters, getting pictures and resumes together. I never had a picture and resume in New York. It was all just word of mouth. I got a picture and resume together, and I started going out on auditions. And I was not in the union at the time, so I had to concentrate on going to educational films and industrial films. Here I am back doing going into industrial films. 10 years after I had turned it down, I was going out to audition for industrial film, because they were mostly non-union. Oh, also in New York, I had a chance to do cartoon voices. I knocked on a door in New York. This was back when I was in night school. And a nice Asian fella opened the door and said, oh, after I introduced myself, said I'm an actor and looking to work behind the scenes as well as in front of the scenes. And he said, do you do cartoon voices? I said, yeah, of course. I didn't know whether I could do it or not. I used to fool around with it. But he said, oh, why don't you read a couple of things? He gave me a few pages of different characters, and I read them, and I was really good, because I had developed my skills of reading aloud by doing the news. So this was just reading aloud and making a character. So he offered to send me to Japan to do cartoon voices, and I turned it down. I was afraid of going to Japan alone. I didn't want to leave my ice hockey and my golf. I had very little parental guidance. So who knew that 10 years later I'd be doing just that? I'd be doing cartoon voices for Japanese cartoons called anime. Anyway, how I got into anime is a story worth repeating. I finally got my first job in an educational film. I was Xylo from the planet... Oh, no, wait a minute. That's another thing. I was this little fella from the planet Trilon, who comes down and lands on Earth in the library. And he meets this little kid and this librarian, and together the little kid and the librarian teach him how to use the library. And that's how the viewer learned how to use the library. What's all that screaming? Want to get killed? Anyway, that was my first film job. And I worked 3 days and I made $150 a day, which was pretty good money. That's still pretty good money today. But that was my first film job. And, so I kept looking for industrial and educational films, and I still had to get into the union. And you know, the trick with getting into the union is to get into the union, you have to have a union job. And in order to get a union job, you have to be in the union. So it's like catch-22, that's called. So the way to get by that is either go to bed with somebody who can get you in the union, and that happens a lot, but you don't have to do that. You can get somebody to hire you for a union job, make friends with somebody, and get them to hire you for a small role in a union film or a big role. And that's how you earn your union card. Anyway, that's what I did. I did an audition for an industrial film. There's the industrial films again. Playing a hospital orderly who was sick and tired of getting bossed around all the time. So I went and I read for that, and I did a couple of improvisations for them, and they liked me a lot. So they hired me for this, it was called How to Use Your Time, or something like that.